have our presence in Bangalore, Chennai, Delhi, Indore, Hyderabad, Kolkata, Mumbai, Pune. I think I covered it all. Just in case I missed it, please do visit our website. We have all the details there with the contact numbers and the IDs. So we have close to, basically we serve close to 2,000 board members. And we are an organization that... Can you please put yourself on mute, or the moderator of the backend, can you please make sure that all these people are on mute? Thank you. So the services that Multiple Sclerosis Society of India provides through its various chapters include physiotherapy, home nursing care, scholarship for students of people, parents who have had MS and are not able to support their children's education. We provide counseling, we provide mobility aids. We also conduct medical seminars and camps where our MS members can come and get, it's like a one-stop shop. The areas that we basically are looking into is not only services, but we are also advocating for the rights of persons with disabilities, especially persons with multiple sclerosis. Very recently, we conducted a 4-week campaign called Reassess MS, which was to look at reviewing the current assessment guidelines that are used while issuing disability certificates for people with MS. Multiple sclerosis, as you all know, is invisible, and that aspect is not covered currently in the assessment guidelines, which, as a result, is hampering the ability to access disability certificate and the benefits that accrue from these certificates, be it income tax, we are lobbying with the government. I'm not sure if I was audible. We are lobbying with the government to look and review the assessment guidelines. Today's session, as you all can see, is jobs for persons with disability. This is a very, very burning topic, especially because people with multiple sclerosis are young and they form a large segment of the task force of various organizations. Some of our persons are doing extremely well. Some of our persons have had issues, but all this needs to be addressed, and we continue to make sure that we provide a platform where our members can get to know about job opportunities, get to know about how to upskill, and also what needs to be done in order for us to become more employable. So our first speaker today is Mr. Manish Kumar. He is the Program Manager for ABLE in Livelihoods team of the American India Foundation's country office based out of Gurgaon. He's also leading the initiative on livelihoods with persons with disability. He has an MBA, and prior to joining American India Foundation in 2016, he worked for Orbis International, the site, Right to Sight India, Rotary Club of Purulia, Service Center, Purulia, and Manavikas Kendra and Intera Information Technologies, and his career spans 16 years. Why I think it is very, very interesting, and thank you, Mr. Manish Kumar, for joining us. You at American India Foundation have done some amazing work with people with disabilities. I would like to hand over this session now to you to walk us through all that you do and how you have made a difference to people with disabilities. Over to you, Manish ji.
Good evening, everybody. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, good evening. Yes, you are. Very loud and clear. Thank you.
Yeah. And thank you, Renuka ji, for this opportunity to be part of the MSSI family in this evening here, and this opportunity to interact with everybody and share whatever little bit I have with me and based on my knowledge and the experience that I have on working with people with disabilities. I would want to share those perspectives with everybody. Apologies for my sore throat. So in case, the sound gets muffled up, please let me know so that I can just, be a bit more louder. Yeah, already somebody is saying I'm a bit low. So I hope the volume is good now.
Yes, now it's better.
Yeah, yeah. So, maybe I just want to begin with one very important aspect, abilities. So wherever we talk of people with disabilities, the first thing that comes into mind of everybody is the limitation, the challenges. But in case if we just change our perspective, use a different lens, remove the dis, we look at abilities. So why can't we just look at abilities, what an individual can do? And actually this is the same philosophy on which the able program in AIF is actually built on. It says if it's one's ability, not disability, that defines an individual. So I'm not defined by what I cannot do. I'm defined by what I can do. So similarly, in everybody's case, it is the same principle that we look at what a person can do rather than looking at what a person cannot do. This principle actually applies not just to people with disabilities, but in general, in every sphere of work, every sphere of life, because abilities are something that, bring us up, takes us up and to a higher plane of existence. Now, this particular session actually focuses on the jobs for people with disabilities. So in a personal opinion, the inclusion has to be driven and it has to be a common thread. It has to be the undercurrent in everything that we do, not just in jobs, but also in the, in the social coexistence, the social fabric of the country, and all activities at the societal level that we engage in, whether it is work, whether it is education, whether it is entertainment, you name it, inclusion has to be there, and it has to start from the basic element itself. So when we talk about jobs, there are various aspects, but one very important aspect that we would want to highlight it here is about, employers embracing inclusion, embracing people with disabilities, making themselves ready to bring on board employees, the persons with disability, job seekers who are who have the abilities, the capabilities, and the aspiration to work in big companies and contribute positively. So employer sensitization, making an employer or an employer group aware of the value that people with disabilities bring on board, not just in terms of skill, but also the diversity that it brings about. It has a very positive influence on the work culture. It has a very positive influence on the way people, start looking at people with disabilities, start interacting with them. So these are some of the very positive, things that a person with disability certainly brings into the workforce. So for sensitizing the employers, I feel person with disability, he or she himself or herself is the best person, because he or she is the role model at that point in time. So being a role model, not just for yourself, but for others who are, who are facing similar kind of challenges, I think that's the onus we need to take on ourselves. And we need to work with our employers to kind of sensitize them on the various aspects which are related to disabilities, which are related to persons with disabilities, the issues that people face, and the way they can be addressed. So on this front, self-advocacy is something that is very, very important for all of us to have. If we can actually talk confidently about ourselves, for ourselves, I think there is nothing better than that. And I'm, I've seen it happen. It has had the maximum impact at every level. Employers have really understood, the supervisors have understood, okay, this person is facing certain challenges, facing difficulties, and they have come forward with solutions together to address those difficulties. So I think based on the challenges that people who are affected by multiple sclerosis face, I think it is all the more important because there are many things which are invisible. There are many symptoms or the effects of this disabling condition, which is not visible to everybody. I think it is better that we speak for ourselves and talk to our employers in ways in which we can make them understand the situation. And I'm sure there are people who would understand and who would take this up and address them in various capacities at the organization level and as well as at the individual level. So self advocacy, I feel, is something that really needs to be at the core of how we talk about ourselves and present ourselves in the workplace. Now, with the COVID coming into the picture, a lot of things have changed, the way companies function, the way business functions. And also with the advancement of technology, a lot of things are going the technological way, a lot of activity, lot of work, lot of tasks are being now done using technology. So many of us would feel at some points that, maybe I'm going to lose my job, or I'm becoming redundant, whether I'll be able to continue working or not, I'm not sure. And that brings in that loss of confidence, and then people tend to fall out of the work employment journey, which is actually really very, very sad thing. And I'm sure as individuals who have responsibilities, who want to do well in life, have a career, I think that's not the way we should look at. We should look at various other opportunities. And in today's time, with the government pushing so much on skilling, with a lot of options available in the market to upskill ourselves, to reskill ourselves, I think it becomes very important that we latch on to those opportunities. And that is where this ABLE program that we have at AIF actually is trying to make an impact. So the ABLE program, which is Ability-Based Livelihoods Empowerment, focuses on skilling and employability of persons with disabilities, and makes an effort not just to equip people with disabilities with market relevant skills, but at the same time works with the corporate groups, the employers who are actually going to create the jobs, to sensitize them on the need and the value of inclusion, having people with disabilities in their workforce, and thereby creating more job opportunities and ensuring that a lot of people with various disabilities get those opportunities and have access to those employment options before them. So this program, if I can just share that over the last few years that this program has been working, we have reached out to over 16,000 individuals across the country through various training programs and employment opportunities. And we have seen a big transformation in the lives of people who have, in many cases, they are the first generation who are getting into jobs from their families. So that's a big thing. And many of them are also people who have worked in entry-level positions, in menial jobs, in part-time work somewhere, and they're struggling to find ground to make a life for themselves. So then they actually undertook various trainings, and then they entered into a formal workforce, and now they're doing pretty well. They are not just continuing with the same job. We are happy that people are looking at switching jobs, looking for growth, looking at better career opportunities. And I think at the end of the day, when that happens, a program like ABLE actually feels that it has played its role to empower people with the kind of skills and the information that people make a make way for themselves in lives. So we have various programs on various kinds of trainings, and there is a unique program that we are currently undertaking which is focusing on the BFSI sector. BFSI is actually standing for banking, financial services, and insurance. So this program focuses on creating more opportunities of employment for persons with disabilities in this particular sector, because this is one sector which is growing very rapidly. Technology is playing a big role, because like every other sector, banking and financial services sector also has been very positively impacted by influx of technology. A lot of things are happening, and as we know, for people with disabilities, technology is certainly a big enabler. So this is where my suggestion is, we can grab the opportunities of upskilling ourselves, undertaking some of the technological trainings, making ourselves appraised with the new technologies. And I'm sure these are some of the things that are going to help us not only in life but also getting into better career options. IT sector is open. ITES, the BPO sector, that is open. Retail, there are a lot of opportunities. The logistics sector, that has got a lot of opportunities. The healthcare, hospitality. So every sector has got opportunities now for persons with disabilities. So I think it is, for us to look at those opportunities and, make the best use of getting a way into it. So with respect to, when I was having my initial discussion with Renuka ji, she was also mentioning that there are a lot of people who actually end up, resigning from their jobs owing to the condition that they are faced with. My humble suggestion here would be, please do not leave your jobs, because then we are leaving an opportunity of, creating an awareness among our supervisor, awareness among our corporate friends, that, these are the conditions that are there. The condition is recognized within the RPWD Act, and the companies do have to, create those enabling conditions or those reasonable accommodations to make sure people with, multiple sclerosis also are, enabled, and they have the same level of playing field as others. So I think it would be very, very wrong on our part to leave the job, become low on confidence. Yes, there are lots of opportunities, challenges everybody faces. Even I face a challenge day to day, every day. So everybody is facing challenges, and what we can do is, we need to pick up our confidence. And how the confidence would come? When we know that we are doing the right thing. I'm sure none of us are doing the wrong thing. We are doing the right thing, and it is our responsibility to also make other people aware of the right that is there in us. So, these are some of the aspects that I wanted to share with you. And with respect to the training and job opportunities, I think I would connect on a separate note with Renuka ji to see what are the various possibilities, how people with, multiple sclerosis can be reached out to, and they can be included in some of these training programs, which are, related to, which are totally employment linked. And look at opportunities of, also sensitizing employers, especially focusing on, let's say, MS, so that the level of awareness among the corporates increases. Now, there is a lot of talk which happens on people with locomotor disabilities, visual disabilities, autism, intellectual disabilities, hearing disabilities. There is very less talk on MS. So I think this is something which, as a program, or, we would want to include and give more emphasis going forward, so that the level of awareness among the various stakeholders increases, and, we are able to, create that kind of an environment, enabling environment, where people can actually get those good employment opportunities and contribute and fulfill their aspirations. Now, with coming to COVID has actually provided, a lot of opportunities now, because many of the companies have started this work from home options. I'm sure some of you would be already, involved in that. You also must be working from home uh, based on the company policies and procedures. But there are newer opportunities that are coming up now based on the work from home. The government of India also given a new notification, has you would have seen a couple of weeks ago, where the government has also given permission to the IT and ITS companies to facilitate work from home. So this is something which, while we are working, while we are engaging with our employers and supervisors, this is something which we can also put forth as a recommendation, that I can work from home, I can deliver my job working from home, and if that can be facilitated, nothing like it. So these are some of the options that are available. And what I would like to end here, because I would also like to look at some of the questions that people have. I would like to end one thing, which is the philosophy of our program. And I very deeply feel that this is the philosophy I think each one of us should have, that it is one's ability, not disability, that defines an individual. We have to focus on our abilities, on others' abilities. And that's when I think the real definition of who I am, what I can do, in what ways I can contribute. So that is the way in which we can make a good life for ourselves, and also become role models and ambassadors for others from my community. Thank you.
Thank you, Manish ji. That was very well captured. You have managed to touch some very, very critical and important segments in your talk. And like you mentioned, you'd like to see some of the questions. What we will do, Manish ji, we will open this up for a few minutes of question answers. And lot of questions
Yes.
I see has come on your last segment of work from home. And
Yeah.
there are some general questions, there are some very specific questions. I'll just read out one or two relevant ones, which is here. Basically, you see, the questions are such that you're seeing in the chat box is, it's very individual.
Yeah.
So, but I think what people are asking is that, can I get a job? So it's nice to ask that question, but would you be able to tell us what is the life cycle of getting a job? I think it would be nice for you to let us know, if somebody says, can I get a job, what would be the answer of somebody who's working to provide livelihoods? If you could just once again reiterate that.
Yeah. So just to answer to this question, if I can get a job. So what is it that entails in a job? There are certain tasks that are to be performed, and there are certain skill sets that I should have to perform those tasks. So the first thing that I need to understand in order to seek a job is, what is the requirement of the job, and do I have those skill sets with me? So if I do not have those skill sets, I will work towards equipping myself with those skills through a classroom training session, through an online training, through attending webinars, gathering knowledge, reading up. So I would like to acquire the knowledge and acquire the skills which makes me suitable for a particular job. So I think as a first step, we need to have the aspiration that I need a job, and then map my skills to the particular job that I'm looking at and see if there is any gap. If the gap is there, I would want to bridge that gap by acquiring the skills, and then apply for the jobs and face interviews and be there. So I think that is something that at an individual level, that is something that we need to do.
Thank you. So basically, yes, there are jobs, but you have to look within and see your existing skill set. What is the need? What is the job out there? How do you upskill? So there are many questions on this particular aspect, because work from home, what is the job that I can do if I'm on a wheelchair? Can I work from home? These are the questions which I'm reading out from this group. Um, uh, Somebody who's read me, I don't know, is uh, Working from home opportunities. Yes, there are working from home opportunities. And there are some questions which we will not be able to answer, but the plan of this and doing this entire webinar, and like Manish ji also mentioned, we will take these questions. We will have a separate discussion offline. We will come up with at least some answers as to what can be done, what are the potentials, what are the opportunities. It will also require a lot of work from our respective chapters, where you have to map the skill of people who are looking for jobs. I think it's very well put, Manishji, where you said that you have to see what skill you have and match it to the job that you're looking for. So I think that also needs to very clearly be understood by all our friends here, that if I have a skill and there is a job that doesn't match my skill, what shall I do to upskill or become suitable to be able to get that job? And for that, like your courses, your certification programs, your certain programs that you're running, like you mentioned about the banking, financial sector, banking, financial and services, insurance.
Insurance.
Yeah. So, how can we, because that is something which we can definitely look. A question that has come from the other sources, not from here, is that how does the training happen online? Are there modules, or if I have to, another question was, if I need to find an online training program, where should I look? So any answers on that, Manishji?
See, nowadays with the technological advancements, there are a lot of online training courses. And with COVID, actually, it has already been tested and it is a huge success. And, you would have seen everybody, joining the bandwagon for online courses, creating online curriculum and delivering it online. So, there are a lot of options here in terms of online training. For example, if there is a software development course, for example. So in the software development course, the online training, there are, organizations which provide such training where there is an online platform where you, on a self-learning, pattern, you undertake the training. And then there are separate sessions which are created for clearing the doubts and resolving other issues. So on a daily basis, the platform is available to you 24/7. At your own convenience, at your own pace, you learn. And there are specific slots created for clearing doubts. So when all the, the candidates who are part of that particular batch or that course would come together, the facilitator is there. And then the facilitator actually, facilitates and has the discussion, and you can have your doubt clearance and everything done. So I think we are doing it right now. It's happening. So it's a very good way of actually, upgrading yourself while being at home. You don't have to go to a particular center that way. So this is one of the options. There are other options of training, virtual training, which use various platforms such as, Google Meet, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and those virtual sessions are conducted. So, and those, for the sessions, there are stipulated time periods are there. There are breakout, sessions which happen. So everything has become more structured now in terms of, virtual training. So this is something which is, I think, COVID has been just one of the, catalysts to actually to speed up the entire process. Virtual training is going to stay, and there would be places where you would have an hybrid model where virtual as well as a physical, face-to-face contact training happens. But yes, virtual trainings, there are lots of options, especially in terms of these IT courses. IT, your data analytics, your cloud computing, your Python, and all of that. There are a lot of these courses which are being delivered only virtually. So I think these are a lot of options are available.
Right. There are three questions. I know, Manishji, you have to leave. There are three questions. One is actually two questions. Could you please explain the self-advocacy piece once again, which you mentioned? as persons with disability, we have to be advocating for our own, abilities.
Yes.
And the second question, of course, is a very subjective question. You may want to or may not want to answer that. It's more individual, that one employer is asking the MS person to take voluntary retirement because of his slurred speech and tremors. And there's another person who's saying that the employer has denied employment because the person is disabled due to MS. Under such situations, what can be done? I don't think these could be answered here, because there is a legal recourse to it,
Yes.
definitely. But if you could just touch upon the self-advocacy, and this would be your last question, and then we'll slip into the next one.
Yeah. So regarding the self-advocacy part, many a times we feel, and I'm sure people would have experienced it as well. So you have somebody else speaking for me, like in a family. When my father was there, I always looked up to my father to talk to somebody else on my behalf. My son is so and so, he's capable of doing so and so, can you do something for him, or give him this opportunity, that opportunity, things like that. We would have seen in the family, right? Parents generally speak up for their children. But when a child gets up and speaks for himself or herself, I think that always carries a very strong message and has a very huge impact on the listener. So similarly, the self advocacy. So instead of, if I can just give this example, Manish going and talking to an employer that, there are persons with multiple sclerosis and other forms of disabilities, you should, look at these aspects. So you should look at the value that they're bringing in and this and that, and try to sensitize him or her and, and create that kind of a thing. What will happen if a person with disability directly approaches the management or approaches the supervisor? Not as in a confrontation, but with the purpose of bringing in that kind of awareness, because everybody is not aware. There are everybody is not aware about various aspects of disabilities. Even if you ask today, maybe even if in this group, if I ask how many forms of disabilities are there which the RPWD Act has actually included, I'm sure many would not be able to tell the different 21 forms of disabilities that are there. So when I am affected, I think it is the best I can share my perspective, because I am the right person to talk about it instead of somebody else coming and talking. So that's what is self-advocacy. So either I can do it individually, or I can do it as a group with the like people. So then that's why, when, I still remember a very, like Javed used to always say, and it's coming from the UNCRPD, nothing for us without us. Why was that? Because the UNCRPD wanted people with disabilities to come up and talk about themselves, talk about the issues that they face. So that is what I'm referring to when we talk of self-advocacy, that we ourselves have to, take up the cause and talk about it.
Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. So I hope the answer about self-advocacy has been answered. And I think that was the last question. But at this point, I will say thank you. There are more questions. We will take it after this session. Manishji, thank you very much for giving time. And what we are going to do is, at the end, we will send out the information of your organization, and we'll put the link in this chat box for people to visit it. And as MSSI, we can always have an offline discussion to find more ways to collaborate and engage, so that we provide a better platform for people with disabilities and their livelihoods.
Yes, certainly. And I think, what we can do is, like, with respect to the offline discussions, we can always look at various other opportunities where we could see how some of our existing work that we are doing in AIF can actually include people with MS also. So that, at least as a, measure going forward, this is some kind of a direct, a connect or a direct action that we can take up together and see what are the various possibilities and explore. And like I mentioned, we will, as we speak to various corporates, we will take this up and see how it can be addressed and we can, get them to, understand the nuances and take up those accommodative measures.
Fantastic. That sounds amazing, because I know you work with a lot of corporates. If you could talk together with us about the needs of people with MS, that would be really a direct action and
Yeah.
bringing multiple sclerosis into the space of persons with disabilities in terms of livelihood. Thank
Right.
you, Manishji. That is absolutely an amazing idea. We will take it forward. We are not going to forget about it. But on this note, I would like to say thank you on behalf of MSSI to you for coming on our show. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. And I know many questions have not been answered, so please send it to Renuka ji, and we will come up with appropriate responses, and we'll share them with you. Yeah. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Ji.
Yeah. Thank you.
So, so now we are going to have the next session, and I did read a few questions for all the people who are sending their messages. We will take a dump of all these questions, and we will be sending it to, uh, just one sec. Yeah. So we will be getting into our next session. I just wanted to tell you that some of the questions that I have seen, some people are saying that, my hands don't move, my fingers don't move, I have got an electrical engineering degree, and so on and so forth. These are challenges. We will have to address it. I'm sure you are already associated with one of your chapters. The idea is that please bring these problems to the forefront. We can put together your questions, and then when we talk with the American India Foundation, and when we talk on our second show tomorrow, these questions are actually going to be addressed, because we are getting somebody from Microsoft who are planning to start training for people with disability who must access software when they have limited abilities, like their hands don't move or they can't see with their eyes, they are voice operated. So that's a session we are going to have tomorrow. So a lot of your questions will be answered also tomorrow. But please do keep the questions coming. I'm not sure whose screen I'm seeing right now. I can see a beautiful yellow taxi, but now I don't. But so now, coming to our next session, I just wanted to let you know we had actually planned to have Mr. B.S. Nagesh, who would be, just one second. Mr. Nagesh was to join us, but we have managed to get a recording done. And just to give you a quick introduction on Mr. Nagesh, he is, as some of you might be already aware, he was the man who started Shoppers Stop in India. And he comes with a very rich 35-year experience of being in retail. He comes with a very interesting philosophy, which says 25 years of earning, 25 years of learning, 25 years of earning, and 25 years of giving back to society. He now currently heads Train, which is the trust for retailers and retail associates in India. Before we run the recording of his interview, which I took with him a couple of hours ago, I would like to tell you that under Train, they have started an initiative called Punk, which is mainly for an initiative for persons with disabilities, and providing opportunities and certification and training programs for people with disabilities. In 2020, they have, basically, when they started this, they aspired to build a sustainable livelihood platform for people with disability. They plan to provide employment as well. And during COVID, when everything shut down, especially the retail industry and the malls, they managed to digitize their entire training curriculum and started providing online trainings. And they have managed to train 400 plus persons with disability. Considering that a lot of our members are young and are looking for work from home or work in a conducive environment, we asked him some very, very pertinent questions. And this is a session that I'm sure you all will enjoy. He's not going to be here for answering your questions. Nevertheless, please do put your questions here. At the end, we will take those. If we can answer them here, that's great. Otherwise, we will send it to them. He has requested that the questions be sent to him, and he will send the answers, if at all. And we will then send it to the respective chapters for you to be for you all to get the responses. So may I now request Javed, could you please run that interview recording, please? Thank you.
Yeah, is it visible?
Yes, it is. There is no sound, Javed.
I hope now it's audible.
No, it's not. Good evening, Mr. Nagesh. Welcome.
Yeah. Now is it audible?
No, I don't think so.
I don't know.
Could you press that play button at the bottom of the screen? At the blue button here? No, down below? Oh, I don't know if that is. It is audible? Okay, good. Somehow I cannot hear it. Okay. Okay, please go ahead.
I'm not sure, you and I, it's not audible to me as well, Sarthak here.
Okay, so I'm, Javed, if you can close the screen, I'm going to try and stream it from here. Let me see, let us try. Let me try
Okay.
it from my end.
I'm stop sharing from here.
Sorry about this technical problem. To the Multiple Sclerosis Society of India's. Is it audible now to everyone?
Yes, it is.
Webinar. Yeah. Thank you very much for giving us time from your busy schedule to be on this webinar, which we are in 7 states currently. Mainly, they are people with MS, their caregivers, and their family members. I would like to start off by asking you something about what is so integral to your life, to the way you have worked, and so in the sector where you have worked, and how you have become, in at least our eyes, quite a pioneer and a leader in this segment. I personally have seen you on YouTube and followed you, but for the rest of our viewers, I would like to start by asking you to say a few words about what really inspired you to start TRAIN livelihood program, which is the Trust for Retailers and Retail Associates of India. So over to you, Mr. Nagesh.
Thank you, Renuka. Thank you for inviting me. And it's a pleasure to be talking to you. And I hope the next half an hour is going to be valuable to all your viewers who are watching this program virtually. Yes, born in Bangalore, brought up in Uttar Pradesh, studied all over the country, started my career in Globalast as a sales officer, grew up to become a regional manager in Corona in 1990. When I got this opportunity to start Shopper Stop as a company, being the first employee of the company, and for the last 30 years, 29 years plus, I'm associated with the company. So if you ask me, all my life, or 2/3 of my career, working career, has been in retail. And you know, retail is all about people. It's all about consumers as people. It's all about people as people who work as employees. And when I started Shopper Stop in 1991, we were 13 employees. And today, maybe there are 5,000, 7,000 employees, but 30, 40,000 people have come and gone. So it's a high people-intensive industry. And the retail industry in India has about 46 million people working, 4.6 crores, with close to about 12 to 15 million retailers, 1 to 1.5 crore. So retail is an integral part of our country. And if you look at the future growth of our country, it's going to happen through consumption. And consumption at the last mile happens through retail. So having worked through retail for so many years, when the time came for me to step down, when I turned 50, was for me to do something where I can give back to the industry and the people who have given me so much of name, fame, whatever I am today. And that's where I thought of this name called TRAIN. And it so happened that I was traveling between Manchester and London in a train. And I started thinking about this. I thought I'll set up a not-for-profit, an ATG approved charitable trust for retail. And it will not only have an impact on retail employees, but also on retailers. And I started in India. So actually it came as Trust for Retailers and Retail Associates of India. And very easily it turned into the brand name TRAIN. And the beauty of this is a journey I have started. And I'm hoping that this journey will continue and we'll be able to build an organization longer than I. And that's how TRAIN was started. And why did I step out of Shopper Stop when I turned 50 was partly due to some influence, maybe from my father, or influence of various well-wishers and good people and role models that I have met during my career. I thought that if I step out at 50, maybe I'll have another 25 to 50 years of my life to do something meaningful and which can actually get established as an institution. Otherwise, you know, most NGOs end up being an individual's entity and remain small and cannot scale up. So that's how I started TRAIN. And like the name suggests, it is very specifically working for retailers, with retailers. And the idea was that whatever we create can be absorbed in the retail industry because of the number of people who work there. We identified 6 areas to work. First was on pride. How do you build pride for the industry and the people who work? Because although we can't live without a retailer or a kirana next door, but in our minds, a kirana guy is still not somebody high on the societal agenda. Because most of the people who join retail are people who otherwise have not done well in life, 99%. Okay, at 10th, 12th pass, fail, and the option is to go and start working in a shop. There's no respect. And because the retail is not an industry which can afford to spend a lot of money on development, therefore they're not trained or they don't get opportunities to study further, become graduates, postgraduates. So we said, what can we do to build respect? That was the second. And the third was, of course, inclusion. How do we make retail as an inclusive part of the community? And fourth was of development. I mean, can we really help people to develop themselves? Fifth was when we looked at this segment of employees, we found that, there hardly any health or social security for them. The salaries don't grow, there are minimum wages, and the average salary across the country must be 5,500 to 6,000. Across top urban cities is about 8,700 rupees. Not a great salary, okay? But they are below the average of the per capita income of the country. So for each of these projects, pride, respect, inclusion, development, health, and social security. We started off one project. So pride, we created a day called Retail Employees Day. It's 10 years now, and last year we had about 15 million people celebrating Retail Employees Day on the 12th of December. You know, Diwali, Christmas, Eid, when the whole world celebrates, retail employees are working in the shops, preparing for the customers or closing shops after the customer leaves at 11, 12 o'clock. For respect, we created an award which has become global across the world. We've had in 15 in Rome, 17 in Toronto, 19 in Tokyo, in association with the Intercontinental Group of Department Stores. Third was on inclusion, and we realized, and please, I would want you to know that I've never worked in the sector, okay? So NGO was a new sector for me, persons with disability was a new sector for me and Amisha, our founding CEO. So when we look at inclusion, we said India has 26, 27 million persons with disability. Retail has 46 million. Attrition, and why can't we marry these two? And that's how we said we'll start off with creating livelihood for persons with disability. This was in 2011. And since I had no clue about it, I met Meera Shenoy, who is a veteran and a very well-known person in the social sector. And she helped set up Punk. In fact, we together started it with first center in Hyderabad. And over a period of the last 10 years, this has grown. And from one center where we actually graduated 22 youth with orthopedic challenges, before the COVID closure, we had 52 centers across the country, and we graduated about 5,000 such youth in the year 1920. And cumulatively, with 22 put together, we have done about 17,000 such youth. And 70% of them are employed. So ours is not a skilling program, it's a livelihood program. And the beauty of the program is, because these are my personal savings and resources, so we actually married the best of two worlds. NGO partners who have the infrastructure, who have the credibility, and who have the ability to source within the locality. And train, which we set up with Connect to Business, getting the pedagogy, training, building the technology, and managing end-to-end. So this became a win-win. So none of the centers belong to us. These are NGOs who do multiple work. They started the persons with disability as one of the sectors as part of the livelihood program. And it's just caught on. With COVID, some serious challenges because all the centers are closed. And therefore we said, can we digitize the program? And in the last 4 months, we have digitized the whole program. And this program is now being conducted virtually also through our NGO partners. But hopefully one day we should be able to do across the nation. So any person with disability sitting anywhere in the country should be able to log in and on his or her mobile do the course virtually, get a certification, because every youth who comes out of our program is actually an NSDC certified to the Sector Skill Council, Rashi. That's our dream. And hopefully with the next month, all the centers open, in the next 4 months, we should be back to track. So Renuka, that has been our journey. And I must say that the true strength of TRAIN has been its 12 people. I think there are 12 of us now. A very small team, but has done some very good global work, basically because the belief that we have to be thought leaders and a catalyst. So whatever we do should attract other like-minded people behind hands. And therefore we use underutilized capacities of NGOs and like-minded people to get together. And we share the whole part of the value chain. We do something, you do something, and we make it happen. So I'm hoping that next year onwards, we should again go back to our normal situation and then grow both physically and virtually. So the debacle of COVID was that we lost a year in terms of so many opportunities we could have created. And the boon of COVID is that because of COVID, we actually converted everything to digital program. And in the next few weeks, on the mobile app that we have called Train Circle, you can do all the programs that we have. And in fact, last quarter, we already had 400 plus persons with disability. And this has been one of the most interesting things that's happened. Amisha, who's our CEO, actually started her career with me as a sales girl. And in 25 years, she has grown all across, and she was the head of non-food in Tesco International. And when I started Train, she joined me. So she's the founding CEO. So a lot of credit to what's happening in Train goes to her and her team. because she believes in technology, and everything that we're doing is on a tech platform called P3, which everything is mapped from one end to the other end. And we don't go to individual donors. I mean, most of our donors are corporate donors because it's easy to manage a small set of donors rather than to a large set of donors. And that's been the journey. So 10 years out of the 25, 30, 40, 50 years for me to go. It's a long way to go, but a good beginning, a very satisfactory beginning.
That's truly an inspiring journey, and it must be very, very fulfilling for you. But what I picked up was some very interesting aspects which you mentioned about punk, and how you have managed to bring this livelihood opportunity and certification for people with disabilities. And we are multiple sclerosis, as you know, has been included in the RPWD Act of 2016. And we have a couple of challenges. Multiple sclerosis is a disease of, the youth. It happens when you're at the prime of your working career. And so on the webinar that we are doing basically is to open up this whole playfield or the horizon of what is going on when it comes to training people on livelihood opportunities. And that's the reason why we felt that somebody like you would be able to, when our members hear it from the person who has been instrumental in bringing this change, it just completely adds value because it's coming from an authority and somebody who has done a project which is tried, tested, successful, replicatable or replicable. So I would like to just move my focus on asking you a couple of questions very specific to how your information is going to help our segment of people. So, you said that during COVID, since the centers are shut and you've gone digital, and there are people from home who can attend these programs, we have close to 2,000 people across our chapters. And there could be many people who are waiting for opportunities of being at home to attend a certification program, which would eventually, hopefully, allow them to generate income for themselves. So how does one reach out, and is all the information there in your website, number one? Number two, is it necessary for somebody like yourself to understand what areas of work can people with disability or people with limited abilities perform in? How do you identify that this person with this disability will be a success or will be a productive workforce? Is there any insights or thoughts on that?
So Renuka, remember that we are nobody to talk about one's ability or disability. I think the most important thing is the job provider should be willing to provide a platform and look at these individuals as an individual with some ability and some possibility. And then the platform starts helping become better and better. The better the first person performs, easier for the second person to join. So when we started in 2011, there was Costa Coffee, KFC, Pizza Hut, very few retail companies who were taking persons with disability. And there was a lot of apprehension of taking them because this is a customer-facing job. Okay, what will happen? How can you manage? If it's not doing well, if you have to lay off, what will the industry say? What will the consumer say? And lots of apprehension. So in the last 10 years, today we have 150 corporates from Reliance to DMart to you name the large retailer, to Bata, to each one of them is taking Amazon in the back office. So the first challenge or the first opportunity or the first work that we have to do is how do you make the recruiter understand that this is an opportunity of inclusion and diversity? So I would start with saying to look at your patients and say that which are the jobs or which are the industries or which are the companies which will take them. So the first thing is to pitch to the companies to say, here are this kind of kids, youth, who can do everything you believe, okay, can happen. Okay, but there are certain jobs they can do well. And that's the beginning. So what we did was, when we started off, we looked at detail and said, what are the roles that such challenged people can actually play? We identified some 31 roles. Okay, and then we said that if they had to begin with, what are the kind of people with what disabilities who can actually come and play these roles? We identified two, orthopedic and SHI, speech and hearing impaired. And then we started with orthopedic first. Let's not forget the first batch of 22, since I was the chairman of Hypercity, I took all of them in Hypercity in Hyderabad. I mean, our chairs in the cashier's desk were not suitable. Our way of working was standing for 8 hours. So we had to first change and bend the little rules without hurting the others. So if you take 20 people in a 250 people organization, the other 230 have to feel good about having these 20 with them. So there's a lot of inclusiveness and sensitivity you have to build for the others before you take them in. So from there we started off. Today, 55% of the youth who come out of our batches are SHI youth, and they do fantastic work from front end to cashiering to, in fact, I think one of them is ready to or has just become a supervisor for the first time. So if I had to be in your shoes, the first thing I would say is look at your youth and then say, what can we actually, which are the industries, which are the companies where we can go and talk to them to say, will you take 10 of such youth? And can we work for 3 months, 6 months and see how the response is, what can we do? And your own team has to support this youth and the organization. So that's the first part of it. Second, as far as the youth are concerned, I mean, if they have to go through the training, our program is all ready. It is just a matter of Amisha and you sitting together, and all your partners can open it up to you. It won't take even 24 hours to connect them. And the whole course is all NHTC certified. And it doesn't mean that if it is in retail, they have to come work in a big bazaar or a shop stop in Mumbai. Okay. I mean, retail is everywhere. Okay. I mean, with their knowledge and their confidence, they can go and work in a small shop next to them in their own local place. Even if they get 5,000 in their village town, it is much better than getting 10,000 in the tier 1 city. Okay, so which is not difficult at all. I mean, if you all are interested, and Amisha and I can talk you through, and you can just pick up the program. Because for us, we have started with orthopedic challenges and SHI because we have not gone through either a multiple sclerosis or visually challenged youth, because we've not taken such youth. But if you are the expert there, I mean, our program is already there. I mean, to come and attend the course is hardly any amounts. Okay, we raise funds, maybe we can raise funds for part of your youth also. So I think the possibilities are immense. I think the two of us have to meet. And what we already have, you don't have to replicate it. We already spend money on it. Okay, anyhow, we don't charge the employer anything and the employee anything. We raise funds. This whole digital course that we are putting in will go in for a very small amount. So it's all possible. Basic thing is you and we have to think commonly and say, can we do it together?
Thank you for giving that clarity. So I'm going to take one step ahead and assume that we have people already working. And the scenario which I'd like to present here is that we have a lot of our members or a lot of our youngsters who are working, and they suffer from, say, invisible symptoms, which is very difficult to see or understand by an employer. And what happens in the bargain is a situation that I wanted to share with you and get your thoughts on how would you approach it, in the sense that when a person with disability joins a workforce in a company, they go through the same process of appraisal and a career progression. We do understand that there are reasonable accommodations, has to be empathy, but have you ever had any experience where you have found that there are promising people with disabilities, but because their appraisal process or their career progression is suffering due to their ability or disability or limited ability, have you had any such experience, or do you think in the real world where you are seeing people being employed in the space of inclusion and diversity, have you had any stories or experiences where people have complained that their careers have come to a standstill or they have had to leave because they have not matched up to the appraisal of a company? Because at the end of the day, it's the cost to company, irrespective of your ability or your disability. So any thoughts or views on that?
So Renuka, our livelihood program has a motto behind, say we open the door for the first time and allow the person to move one step ahead. Okay, and because there are millions of people who are waiting for this opportunity, our program is not meant to allow and help the person to go to the second step and third step and fourth step. We don't do that handling, yeah. And we have been thinking about to say, should we add more different kinds of disabilities in our program? Okay, programs where they can grow and become supervisors and things like that, where the number in industry like retail is 1:100. Okay, so we said, no, we'll add more and more disabilities and we add more and more vertical. So that's the way we're going. I haven't personally heard of these challenges because we do mentor and handhold and counsel the person for a period of 3 to 6 months, but we don't look at training or creating ability for him to scale and climb the ladder. If there are such instances, it has not come to our knowledge, at least to my knowledge. But honestly, if you ask me, once we say that it has to be empathy and not sympathy, I think then you have to decide what is it you want to do. If you want the person to take on a job from a situation of not having a job, get respect, because suddenly a person who otherwise is thought is of no societal importance is standing on their own feet and supporting others, okay? Or is it a person that you would like to take on and handle and grow him in his career? Accordingly, you have to build the confidence. So if you're saying he has to grow in his career, then the kind of counseling and training that he requires has to be multiple at intervals. Whereas if you're just getting him a job, then you don't require to do that part of it. So I think that clarity you have to have. And we are very, very clear. We're not doing the second. The second thing is that just by signing up an industry doesn't happen. I mean, there are companies where we signed up as early as 2011, 12 with a promise that they'll employ 2% of the workforce, 3% of the workforce. And as of today, they're not even employed 0.5% of the workforce. This is a job of a huge amount of patience and perseverance, and you know it better than me. Okay, so I think we have to keep trying, and be sure what we want to do. So we are fairly focused, and we have not seen these challenges. Yeah, we have seen these challenges where both sides, whether it is the youth or the company, sometimes takes things for granted. We have seen challenges where the youth demand, okay, certain rights because of their disabilities. And we have seen companies where they do not want to empathize and say, because once they are in, I mean, they have to be equal to others. We provide them all the tools for them to grow and match, but we can't give them concessions to say, okay, if a normal person is doing at 100%, but if somebody like this is doing at 70%, we make it at par, okay? So we have both situations like this, but I think it totally depends on the organization, how you want to nurture, how you want to cultivate, how you want to handle, because many of these youth require handholding because of the circumstances in which they have lived in the past few years. But I must tell you that once they get into the job, especially in retail, consumer facing, and they talk to consumers, even the deaf, the SHI, I mean, their confidence level is so high, that after that, the world is there for them. And there's hardly an attrition. I have known people in hypercity who've been there for 10 years, 11 years, 12 years. But you have to take it case by case. As of today, there's no single rule that can be applied all across.
Right. And you know, it is also, I have read a couple of reports where it says that a person with disability will stay longer in the company. And, you know, there are some reports on that.
Absolutely. I would highly recommend to all the people who are on this to go onto the TRAIN website. And at the bottom, there is a section called publication. And in that publication, you go and pick up a report called UDAN. Okay, this report was done to find out the impact of what happens when a person with disability get a job, okay? And it has been done on a micro level, a meso level, and a macro level. Okay, how it impacts them, youth, how it impacts the parents and family, how the community, society, how the NGOs, how the corporates, how the community overall. It's a very small report, but an eye-opener in terms of what one livelihood that you create can do for the whole community. Okay, and it could be also very valuable for many of the NGO partners to do something and check on that. it's available on our website.
Fantastic. And we also have our offices, in Bangalore, Chennai, Delhi, Hyderabad, Indore, Kolkata, Mumbai, Pune. So all of our members are logged in for this program. And I have been already getting some very exciting, interesting messages saying we would really like to attend this webinar. So I think it is going to be opening doors and hearing from you, Mr. Nagesh, how things are working, and sky is the limit once you get in and you're determined and you're sure what you want to do. So that, I think, brings me to the end of my questions, but I go away with this great hope that between yourself, Amisha ji, and Multiple Sclerosis Society senior leadership, at some point, somewhere, we will get in touch with you. We will figure out how to get together and make it a little bit more better for people with MS, especially the young, looking for certification, looking for skill, looking for livelihood. So I'm going away with that hope. And on that hopeful, wonderful note, I would like to say thank you very much. I know you are an extremely busy person. Like I mentioned, am inspired, and I'm sure you're already inspiring many people. And I want to say, wish you all the best, and thank you very, very much. And may this COVID bring quickly end, and all things open, and the retail industry and malls, etc., open up, and there's more movement in the public space. Thank you, Mr. Nagesh. If you want to say your last few words, I would like you to have the last word and not me, but thank you.
Thank you very much, Renuka, and all the best for the program that you run. Like I mentioned, whatever program that we have, okay, where we already invested, okay, at whatever little small fees that we charge, okay, please feel free to come and use it, take it, replicate it, okay, join hands, and wherever we can work together, it's always encouraging for us to not replicate and waste energies and resources, but cooperate and collaborate and do the same work, because one life saved, one livelihood created gives you the same kind of joy that you can get by doing anything else. But this is extremely joyous, joyful, and it's very satisfying. So thank you, and congratulations and compliments to you and your team for such a wonderful work done. Thank you, and namaskar to everybody.
Thank you, namaskar. So that was Mr. Nagesh. You have already heard. He's not here to take any questions, but like I mentioned, you can send in your questions and we will make sure he gets it. But just to wrap up the session today, we did talk about three aspects. One was understanding our own abilities and how we can become advocates of our own abilities and explain to the employers. Number two, we touched upon is how do we map our skill to the existing job. Number three, which was covered by Manish ji of American India Foundation, was that there are opportunities of skilling and upskilling. And in order to do that, there are certifications, many online platforms. And thirdly, this was what Mr. Nagesh was saying, is the livelihood. So once you have mapped and identified which industry you have to be targeting, then you upskill or you use your own skill to get a job, and then the livelihood comes. There are many challenges. There are many questions. There are questions on price, for instance, that certification comes for a price. But you did hear both the speakers mention that they have already invested in a program. Mr. Nagesh's organization is a foundation, is a charitable organization like ours. And American India Foundation is also a charitable organization. They are working closely with corporates. It is very promising to hear that both our speakers today felt that they can talk about multiple sclerosis to their respective stakeholders, which will help many new corporates hear and understand the challenges that people with multiple sclerosis face when it comes to employment and livelihood. So in the coming days, I think we will be talking to these people. Please do stay in touch with your chapters. We hopefully should be able to get a collaborative initiative on the ground about livelihoods, because all of you are saying, these are my limitations, these are what I have, it costs money, I want a job, I have got 3 people in my family with MS. These are challenges. No one can go away from it. The role that we all can play is to try and make a difference, because you will be the role models for many people who still don't have the opportunities that you are having. Somebody has also mentioned here that, can multiple sclerosis society provide jobs? Ideally, we would love to provide jobs, but since we are working very hard and people know very little about multiple sclerosis, together we can make a change, is what my answer is. There are a couple of other questions which are very general in nature. I think you have got them all answered. Yeah, if you do have any last comments, please put them in. But from our side, I would like to thank all of you for taking time out and spending this 1.5 hours with us. Tomorrow, we have a very interesting session. It'll talk about how do we use our limited abilities, or how do we continue to stay employable. And we will learn something new from Microsoft, and how Microsoft is working closely with persons with disability, and they have changed their entire segment where the opportunities of working from home can also be explored. There will also be the global lead on inclusion and disability and diversity from Wipro, and you will hear from her the real example and how she's managing to work in one of the large MNCs of the country, of the world actually. So that's a wrap from us. Javed, may I just request you to please put the American India Foundation website link, if possible, here, as well as the UDAN link, as well as the train link in this chat, so that people can copy it. Otherwise, you're most welcome to please look at TRAIN, which is TRRAIN. Just Google TRAIN, which has got all the information that Mr. Nagesh gave. You may also look at American India Foundation, short form is IAF. It also has a lot of details on the courses and programs that are running. Please stay connected with your chapter. We will be giving them information on how we are collaborating with both these entities to provide hopeful opportunities and livelihood and skilling in the area of these 3 aspects. So thank you very much. It's a wrap on the webinar today. We will see you tomorrow for the second part of the webinar.